first started using oils, I was kind of just using mediocre oils, more like perfume grade oils, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. I just wanted a more natural way to clean my house and make my own perfume and stuff like that. I knew that what I was using was toxic, the cleaning supplies and things like that. But I didn't know that there was such a big difference in essential oils. Okay, so once I discovered the difference, I was blown away. In fact, when I first started with Young Living, I started teaching on the oils because I'm studying about all their effects, and they do this and they do that, and I'm getting all these great results with them. I'm making throat sprays and I'm doing all the things. And then once I found out what is in most oils, I felt like a personal responsibility, because I used to not say what brand I would teach about the oils, but I wouldn't say the brand, because I was like, well, I don't want people to think I'm trying to sell anything. It's just, I want them to know about the oils. But then once I realized the difference, I was like, oh my gosh, I could like poison someone if I'm making throat sprays and using these other things. So this is the level, this higher grade that we're talking about. This is the level of oils we'll be discussing today. We want the good stuff. So let's start by talking about what an essential oil is exactly. So you may have heard essential oils referred to as nature's living energy or the lifeblood of the plant. That's because an oil is essential in the sense that it carries the distinctive essence and scent of the plant that it came from. It's aromatic. Okay, so oils are they are a defense mechanism for the plant. So to try to keep pests away or disease or funguses and things like that. That's what it's doing. It's protecting the plant. And the way God made it, he made it also to where it can be beneficial to us. In fact, there's plenty of scriptures that talk about that and talk about they were created for the service of man. So, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. So each oil comes from the various different parts of the plant, or the flowers or the trees. It depends on the oil. Some oils are found in the roots. Others are in the leaves, and then others are from the flower or the buds of a plant. We even get oils from the bark or the sap of trees. Right here, I have frankincense resin. Okay, and so what this is just when it's kind of like tapping for maple syrup. They damage the tree, they tap it, and then the resin comes out. It's a liquid. Okay, it comes out. It's actually trying to protect the tree. By the way, it's like white blood cells are for us. It's coming out to protect the wound that the tree just had. So they do that, and then they let the resin harden. And that's what this is, just hardened resin. And this is what they distill to get our frankincense. So when you and then there's other parts. So here's some rosemary. It's not the freshest of rosemary, so there's not much oil to be in here, but this is what I had. I was looking for basil, but the basil didn't look good either. So it's winter. Anyway, so when you tear the leaves on your fresh herbs or on your, your cilantro or whatever, that liquid that you get on your hands that smells so amazing, that's the essential oil. And that's the only thing that's in our bottles of essential oil. It's the only thing you want in there. This is super important that most essential oils can't say that. Most are also going to contain fillers and traces of solvents and other chemicals. Some may even have cheap synthetic fragrances added, which is kind of scary when you think you're taking these internally or you're using them on your kids. This is a huge deal. We use them in cooking, our babies and everything. So it's really important that it be pure. We want to know how pure it is. I didn't bring my lime in here. I was going to show you my lime too. I had another show and tell, but you can, when you zest a lemon or a lime or an orange, that smell is also the essential oil. Our citrus oils do not come from the juice of the fruit. It comes from the zest of the fruit, just that outer portion where all that good essential oil is. So I want to also talk about, we'll talk about that in a minute, never mind. Before we discuss ways to use essential oils, I want to clarify something. again, and I want you to really understand this. Not all essential oils are created equal. Even ones that say that they're pure, even ones that say that they're organic. So when I talk about oils, I'm only talking about, when I teach about oils, I'm only talking about Young Living. So for fun, while we talk about this, I'm going to categorize all essential oils on the market into 3 categories: food grade, perfume grade, and premium. Okay, so food grade is kind of what I nickname fast food oils, right? That's just your it may smell good, it may even taste good, but it's not made to have any efficacy. These oils are produced for the food industry, for flavoring. I don't know if any of y'all, some of you Southerners might know Zatarain's crab and shrimp boil. It comes in a liquid bottle. It's really weird because it doesn't say that on the bottle anymore, but it used to say essential oils of, and it would list off. In fact, you can Google the label, and some labels still say it. You can find that label, but it'll say essential oils of, and it'll name, I can't remember what else in it, marjoram. I actually have it written down because I was going to try to copy it with our oils. But anyway, they used to use essential oils. So just like low quality foods, cheap essential oils produced for the food industry may still contain pesticides and fertilizers and everything. The difference is this is now going to be concentrated, right? Because you're taking tons of plant matter, and if it's loaded with pesticides and fertilizers, and then you're concentrating it down into this oil, you're getting a lot of poison in there too that's mixed in, or at least traces of it for sure. So that's something to consider. And again, even a lot of oils that are labeled organic aren't worth what you're paying for them because they're not distilled with efficacy in mind. Okay, so as long as it still tastes or smells okay, they don't care. They're going to distill it the cheapest way possible, which makes sense. Since it's only produced to flavor foods or beverages, they don't need it to actually work, right? It's time consuming, and it takes expertise and money to properly distill essential oils without destroying or compromising their very precious constituents. And the constituents are what make the oils work. If the temperature is too high, if the pressure is too high, or if it's too low. And then there's also expertise even in the growing and the when it's harvested, what time of day. There's just so much, and it's different for every oil. So it's so different. So you have to take all that into consideration. Very few people know how to do this right. And one wrong move and the oil is ruined. It may smell or taste nice again, but it won't work. And we want oils that work. Okay, so the second category would be like what we would call the perfume grade. Okay, and this is the level of essential oil that's probably the most common and the most dangerous. Okay, these oils often contain synthetic toxic chemicals and fragrances. Again, they may still have the pesticides and fertilizers because this is for the perfume grade. They're not going to worry about organic usually for this kind of thing, right? So it might have chemical extenders and solvents that gives them a higher yield of oil. Companies distilling at this level usually use chemicals like hexane to gain that yield. So do you really want that in your oils? And remember, you're taking these a lot of times internally, you're giving it to your children. And some of that may have things in it that are highly toxic, and some even have cancer risks. So you want to be very, very careful with what you're putting on your body and in your body. Think name brand room sprays and perfumes and candles and plug-in air fresheners. Okay, so this is the industry that these types of oils are made for, and mixed with other things, other fragrances. So that's kind of that industry. And again, it makes sense. That's what they're making it for. They don't care if it works. They don't care how pure it is, as long as it smells good. And I mean, they're making it usually for a culture of people, because most people are addicted to the fake stuff, right? Go look at a Yankee Candle store and look what they're paying for those things. I guess I shouldn't say a brand name, but you know what I mean? They're paying a lot for these things, and they aren't using plants in there. It's toxic stuff. So you have to be very, very careful. But Young Living is different. I've said for years that Young Living is the only brand that I would ever use on my children and that I would ever take internally. But you also have to be careful with what you're putting on your skin too, and inhaling. I saw a warning recently for a brand of essential oil. I have no idea why. I would love to know the story behind it, but it was saying it had a warning label on it, not to use. What did it say? It was like not to use on your skin and could cause injury if inhaled. And so it's like, what are you supposed to do with this stuff? What did they actually make it for? It's crazy. So I trust Young Living oils because I've been to their farms. Many of us here, so there's a lot of people here that can vouch for that. I've watched the farming and the distillation process, and I know how absolutely obsessive Gary Young was over quality. He was, I mean, that was his thing, quality and efficacy. And I mean, he fiercely guarded it, and his family is the same way. And so are the people that are carrying on his legacy. Again, I'm not just talking about purity. I'm also talking about efficacy. We want oils like Young Living's that have never been touched by pesticides or chemical fertilizers. You want oils that are watered with clean, pure water, not loaded with, chlorinated water and chemicals that might be in there. They're harvested at their peak and distilled at exactly the right temperature, the right pressure, all of that we just talked about a minute ago. Plus, they go through rigorous testing to make sure that we're getting the highest quality constituents possible. Everything's still in there and still at the highest level possible. Again, this takes expertise that very, very few people have in the world. I mean, it's very rare. We really are so fortunate to have the oils that we have. So let's talk about real quick, before applying an essential oil for the first time, I always recommend that people test it on a small area of their skin first. Many of the oils can be applied undiluted. In fact, I can't think of an oil that I dilute. I mean, if I'm using it on my face or something, that would be different. On sensitive areas of your body, on, a sensitive skin, on an elderly person, on babies, I would dilute it then. And we do that with roller bottles and things like that. But everyone is different. So, if you're in doubt, go ahead and dilute it first. One thing that I also like to warn new people is if you ever accidentally get essential oils in your eye, you want to dilute it with milk. That's the best way to dilute it. You can use a carrier oil, and I have in a pinch because I keep just a little thing of carrier oil in my car just in case I'm stuck somewhere and got peppermint in my eye, right? It's not going to hurt you, but it's going to hurt. So you do want to dilute it with something, but milk is the easiest because you can rinse the milk out of your eye really easily. And you can't do that with a carrier oil. That's not fun to have in your eye either. Carrier oil, by the way, is your fatty oils, and that's why the milk works, because it has fat in it too. But your carrier oils are large molecules, while essential oils are super tiny molecules. So a carrier oil would be like olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, jojoba, almond oil. Those are your carriers. Okay, and that's what you can dilute your essential oil with. You cannot dilute your essential oil with water. It's not going to mix. And you cannot rinse essential oils out of your eye with water. That's going to make it worse. So again, get oils in your eye and you want to flush it with milk and then rinse with water. Trust me, that's something you want to always remember. And it doesn't have to be dairy. If you're dairy free or something, you don't have it in your house, you can use almond milk or coconut milk or something that has some fat to it. And if nothing else, you can also just put a little on a Kleenex, put a little carrier oil and wipe it out, and that'll be fine too. The same thing can happen if you put an oil on that you decide is too spicy for you. There are certain oils that are spicy that, more people want to dilute, like oregano, trying to think of some of the spicy ones now. Cinnamon, some of those, lemongrass can be spicy depending on where you're putting it. So some of those you're going to want to dilute first. Most people will want to dilute it depending on where you're putting it. If you put it on the bottom of your feet or something, it really doesn't matter. So that's a good place to start too. Oh, that's my son singing, if you can hear that. I don't know what he's doing. Okay. So what I'd like to do today is I want to go through the starter kit oils, okay? These are Young Living's most popular singles and blends, and they are the oils that most people get started with, okay? Do I not have them all in here? Yeah, I do. So this is the starter kit I usually recommend people getting, and this is comes with the Desert Mist Diffuser. And so we're just going to kind of go through some of them, and some of you are going to help me. So I wanted to start with lavender. So lavender, which I didn't have the whole thing in here. Okay, that's okay. So lavender is probably the most common essential oil that people have heard. Even people who don't do oils have heard of lavender oil, or maybe they've tried it. Typically, they've smelled a fake lavender, and that's what they think gives them a headache, right? Have you ever heard that? Oh, no, lavender gives me a headache. No, lavender probably doesn't give you a headache unless you're having some kind of detox thing going on. But fake lavender can give you a horrible headache, and it can just the smell of fake lavender makes me nauseous. So that's a thing. So lavender is actually a super gentle essential oil. That's one I used on all my babies and grandbabies, and it was the first oil I ever fell in love with. It's good for so many things. I remember one year I grabbed a steaming hot cast iron skillet with my bare hands, not realizing that it was hot. And I had little kids all under me, so I couldn't just throw it down. So I'm like trying to find a place. It was just, yeah. So that was not fun. But I plunged my hand into a bowl of ice water, and then I would take it out and I would put lavender all over my hand. And then about 30 minutes later, the pain would come back, and I'd stick it back in the ice water for a few seconds, and then I'd dry it off and I'd put lavender on, and I did that like every 30 minutes the rest of the evening. And the next day it was fine. Gotta love that ice, right? So anyway, that's just a hint. If you ever have a kitchen thing like that happen, that was like, there was no way that should have turned out so well. I also love making sun spray with lavender. So I use a spray bottle and I mix it with aloe vera juice. You could also mix it with Laviderm or Clariderm, but typically I mix it with aloe vera juice because that's how I've always made it, and I have plenty of that around. And I just mix the lavender in there. You can also add a little bit of helichrysum, or which is not in the starter kit. A little helichrysum is good in there, and sometimes I'll even add some frankincense. But that feels amazing after you've been in the sun for a while. And I keep it in the refrigerator so that it's cold too. So wouldn't we like some of that right now? It's pretty cold outside right now, so I can't even think about needing that for a while. But one of these days, maybe in September, right? Who's coming to our retreat? Can't wait. I also make a really nice boo-boo spray for the grandkids with the lavender, and I use the same thing. Although sometimes I do use Laviderm and just jack up the lavender with extra stuff in there. Also great for sleep and relaxation. So it makes a great pillow spray. You putting it on your feet when you go to sleep at night, diffusing it in your bedroom, applying it to your temples and the back of your neck. There's just so many things. Lavender is like, there's something for everything. And you can also remember I talked about how gentle that is. You can actually just apply it. The little kids come running in, bumps and bangs and whatever. You can just apply it right on their skin, and it's going to be fine. It doesn't need to be diluted. So that makes it really nice. Peppermint is another. Why are none of my oils in here? These are not the right oils in here. Oh, well, not that you can smell my oils anyway, right? But anyway, so peppermint is another one that is just used for so many things. It's interesting to me that you can take peppermint in a capsule, Peppermint Vitality that comes in my kit, in a capsule, for like on a long drive. My husband used to use it topically, and then he would also take a capsule of it, or he put it in his water. He loved putting it in his water when we would be on a long drive, and it would keep him alert. But when we would be driving late at night, at first I was worried about that. I'm like, if this keeps you awake, you're not going to be able to sleep when you get home. But y'all, these are not drugs. These are essential oils. Okay. So you can take that, to stay alert, or, maybe a little tummy thing that you're dealing with or whatever. And when you get home, it's not going to keep you awake because it's not a drug. It's not a stimulant. It just keeps you alert on the road because it helps you to think clearly. It has a refreshing scent. It keeps you alert, and it helps with keeping the mind focused. So I just think that's so cool. And it's such a good example of how God created these oils to help your body do what your body's supposed to be doing. It's not a drug where it's forcing your body to do something your body doesn't want to do or can't do. You know what I mean? It's like it's working with your body. So I always thought that was just the coolest thing. I want to talk a little bit about Citrus Fresh too. So who uses Citrus Fresh in their juices? Do you use it? It's wonderful, isn't it? I went to somebody else's home party one time, and they had put it in fresh squeezed orange juice just to kind of give it a really fresh flavor, that spearmint in there. I mean, it's just really, really good. It's a citrusy oil, but that spearmint in there gives it a really unique taste and smell. And I was looking it up, and if y'all don't have a reference book, so this is one of my desk references. I have several different editions, but this is one you can still get this used here and there on ABE Books, or I think Amazon has them, but ABE Books sells used books, and you'll probably get the best price there. There may be other places too, but I was reading through here about all the uses for Citrus Fresh, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I just use it in juice. But it really does. It has so many, and it makes sense because it has all these citrus oils in here. It was interesting to me what it says in here. Works well. Okay. University researchers in Japan found that diffusing a citrus oil in an office environment improved mental accuracy and concentration by 54%. That's fascinating. We should be using this in our kids' room when they're studying or doing homework, right? Because that's just amazing. It has orange and tangerine and lemon and mandarin and grapefruit and spearmint. So it has a ton of different citrus oils in there. So now you've got, not only double duty, but quadruple duty. And then you got the spearmint in there too, which is great for the nervous system and respiratory system. So it's just got all kinds of good things. And some people even use it to help support their weight loss efforts in capsules. So kind of like grapefruit too. Grapefruit's another one for that. So yeah, so citrus fruit could be for all of this stuff. Okay, so Amy is gonna share with us a little bit about I think frankincense and raven. Are you ready, Amy? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so Stacy asked me to share about how we use frankincense and raven. Frankincense, you could go on for hours about frankincense. But one of the major things that we have used frankincense for that was an aha moment was we call it the meltdown diffuser because I keep it in my purse. I always have a 15 mil Sacred Frank in my purse, straight up, no dilution. Use that stuff straight up. So we have our youngest daughter, who's adopted from China, has RAD, reactive attachment disorder. And while it has gotten a lot better over the years, it's one of those things where it's like the episodes are fewer and farther between, which is such a blessing. But when we first adopted her until probably a couple of years ago, it was pretty much almost a daily thing that she would have a meltdown. And so I'd keep that in my purse. And whenever we'd be in a restaurant, for whatever reason, she used to always have meltdowns in restaurants. And I would just look at her and be like, okay, we need to go to the bathroom. And people, of course, would look at me like, uh-oh, she's taking her in there for a good old-fashioned Southern spanking is what that child's getting. But really what she was getting was frankincense. So I just take her in the bathroom. I put it right on the crown of her head, and then we would just sit in there, and I would just kind of talk her down. But if I didn't use the Frank talking her down, it would make it worse. If you try to talk to her, it would just get worse. So that's one of the things that we have love using frankincense for. But also, frankincense is so good for your skin, guys. Like if you look up some of these high, once I did a blog post on this, I'd have to search for it because I'm not sure where it is, but if you look up some of these, like you can get, like a Vogue magazine or Cosmopolitan or something, and a lot of times they'll have articles in there about the skincare that celebrities use. And I mean, we're talking stuff that's like 1 ounce, like $300 a week kind of stuff, like a week supply is like $300. And if you look at a lot of those, they will either have frankincense or rose or both in them. And so when I was doing this blog post, it was years ago, and I was doing a little research on that, I actually emailed a couple of these companies that had this crazy high-end expensive. And I asked them, like, can you tell me how much frankincense and or rose that these skincare anti-aging stuff have in them? And so, of course, they have, some of them would just refuse to answer. That's proprietary. And then some of them would come back and tell me in a creative way. And basically they'd be like, oh, well, it has as much rose as like an entire rose, in a bottle. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like our rose is like, that's like one drop of our rose. What they were telling me was in an entire container. And they would say the same thing about frankincense. It was the equivalent of like a few drops. So for me, every time I get a skincare product, of course, I use mostly Young Living skincare products, anti-aging, and I've gotten to the point where it's almost like neurotic how much anti-aging stuff I use. My daughter cracks up at me, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting Botox, so this is what I'm doing. So, um, so yeah, and I just put frankincense. I just add it to everything, even if it's Young Living. I just put extra in it. I put frankincense in the. I love the Genesis hand and body lotion. I mean, not Genesis. What is it called? Help me, Stacy. Is it called
Sensation?
I'm sorry.
Sensation?
No. What's the name of the body lotion? Is it Genesis?
Yeah, there's Genesis.
Okay. Sorry,
Okay.
I thought I had the name wrong. I love that body lotion, hand and body lotion, but I put frankincense in it because you put frankincense all over your body. First of all, if you look it up on PubMed, I mean, you're going to be blown away. Especially the sacred, because it has the boswellic acid in it. And yeah, you want that all over your body. And if it goes into your skin, it's even better because it bypasses your liver. It goes straight into your bloodstream, goes straight into your cells. So that's what I do. That puts frankincense all over me if I put it in my body lotion, especially in the winter, because it's so good for your skin. It just soaks it up. So I mean, frankincense, we could go on for an hour about it. There's just so much, but it is also, I think a lot of times people overlook it as an emotional oil. And so it's amazing for that. I see some people saying I know Amanda has kids with RAD, and then Rose is saying she has a child with RAD. Another thing that we use, I'll just add this because it's great info, is we make a roller of cedarwood, vetiver, and lavender for her, and we roll it up her spine. We just pop the roller top on it, and that has been an absolute godsend for her. But the frankincense, we just put it straight on her crown when she's having like an episode or a meltdown. And it is amazing. Like one day I need to video it because it's amazing how it changes.
You really should.
And then the other one that I was going to talk about is Raven. So Raven, and when Stacy asked me about this, I said, wait a minute, is RC in the kit or Raven now? Because I forget because they go back and forth. But Raven is in the kit now. Both of them are amazing. And we have used both of them with our other adopted daughter who has had lifelong respiratory issues. We actually put it in her nebulizer. And if anyone wants to know like specifics of how we do that, what we order to do it off of Amazon, as far as like the tubing and all that stuff, because we do switch out the tubing pretty regularly because it's plastic tubing. But you can get BPA free tubing, and it's perfect. I feel that it's perfectly safe. It will kind of like break down the plastic out after a little while. And so we just switch it out, and it's super cheap to do that. They actually have the little saline, sterile saline, so you don't have to worry about using sterile water in your nebulizer. And then we just add the Raven into there. And I'm trying to be at least semi-compliant here, but I will tell you, we have not used our daughter's pharmaceutical meds in 7 years. And she was using it like at least twice a day, about 6 months out of the year when her respiratory issues were acting up. So that's the main thing we use it for. We put it on her chest, like if she's having, she just coughs a lot. Like she just, and everybody thinks she's sick, but she's not. It's just how her asthma manifests itself. She just gets this, and we can tell it's an asthma cough. It's different than like a sick cough. And so we just put the Raven right on her chest, and it's amazing. So there's my testimony.
Yeah, that's great, Amy. And that is, as far as the frankincense, that's one that got me all through menopause too. I would go lock myself in the bathroom sometimes, when your nerves are just feeling like they're all on the outside of your skin and you just can't, just everything seems so emotional. And I would just go douse myself with frankincense. I'd put it all over my head, all over the back of my neck. I'd rub it in my hands, and I would just
anoint yourself. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, literally.
I would sit here and pray just like this and do breathing exercises and everything. But each breath wasn't just getting oxygen. I was also getting the oils, and I could just feel the tension melt.
Yes.
So that,
yeah, Doug has actually said to me, like, okay, Aim, because he knows I use it on Nora for meltdowns. Okay, Aim, I think you might need little Frank.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be fighting words.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to say, but he's right. I'm not gonna lie, he's usually right.
Yeah, that, of course, we did that with vetiver too, the psychochick oil. You may not call it that.
Yeah, exactly. Only I'm allowed to do that.
Right. So that's awesome. Okay. Abigail is going to be sharing too about, let's see, Panaway and Valor, I believe.
Yes. I thought it was Panaway and Dress Away earlier today, and then I remembered.
Oh, that's okay.
Valor.
That's okay.
I wanted to talk about Valor, so it's all good. But I got mixed up a little bit. Okay. So I love all of the oils in the starter kit. They're all amazing, and I use them all the time. But when my mom asked me to choose 2 oils from the starter kit, these 2 specifically came to mind because I have more recent testimonies with 2 of them. And so the first one I wanted to talk about was Panaway. If y'all have not tried it yet, it's amazing. Specifically the wintergreen in there is my favorite. But yeah, so one month into marriage, my husband, who loved playing basketball, his whole family is very athletic, he twisted his ankle so bad and he was hobbling around on it for weeks. And Panaway was one of the only things that got us through that. I had him oil up like several times a day, many times a day, just oiling up. And he was able to like put weight on his foot after only a few days of doing that. So that was really amazing. And not having to use a cane walking to work. I remember when he was able to walk, it was really wonderful. So yeah, that's a staple in our home. Another use that I love using for it, and not a lot of people know about, is period cramps. That is one of my go-to oils. And I don't know why, because people always think like, oh, lavender or dragon thyme, but Panaway is one of my go-tos, because I think it's just a cooling sensation. It's amazing. So if you have period cramps and haven't tried it yet, Panaway. And okay. Yes, that too. And the other oil that I was going to talk about was Valor. I had two testimonials come to mind when I think of Valor. It's one of my all-time favorite blends. But I was sharing with someone earlier today that when I first started my Young Living business, and I was so nervous and scared to do any kind of care call, to do Facebook Live. Like, I just had a lot of anxiety about that, and a lot of fear that was holding me back. And I knew what I needed to do in order to build my business. I knew all the tools. I'd watched my mom, but I was just scared to make the jump. And so before I would get on the phone with my members, before I would push the start live button on Facebook, anything like that, anytime I was about to do something scary, I would oil up with Valor. And it really helped me just push through. It gave me that little boost of confidence that I needed. And it's still one of my go-to daily oils anytime that I am feeling even a little hint of anxiety. And so yeah, that's kind of my anxiety blend for myself now it's a Valor, because it's just amazing. I used it during pregnancy. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I really started getting really bad leg cramps in my legs, and it was keeping me up at night and driving me nuts. And I'm only 5'1", so I had a really tall baby boy. My husband 6'5", so tall genes running his family. Tall baby boy, very very swollen and huge and just uncomfortable. And so I remember I called my sister in the middle of the night, and I was like, I cannot sleep. My legs are cramping. I'm uncomfortable. What do I do? And she told me, have you tried Valor? She said Valor and Peace and Calming, but specifically Valor, were the only things that helped her when she was having leg cramps in her pregnancy. And I swear it made a huge difference. I mean, thankfully, I think Declan was born just a few days after that. But it really helped. And I loved it. And actually, to this day, anytime that Declan smells Valor, he starts smiling. Like, it's like he remembers the smell of Valor, and it's really sweet. That and Gentle Baby. I use Gentle Baby on my stomach almost every day while I was pregnant, and he still loves it. So that's the neat thing about using oils with our babies, is they start to associate the memories with the oils. So yeah, those were my two testimonials.
Yes, that's great, Abigail. And that's so true. They do. They start associating the scent with whatever those good memories. So with bonding, that's just so neat that you have that. And I remember when you would, because Abigail was what, 18 when you hit silver. So she was pretty young, and she did struggle with some anxiety and things when she was in her teens. And so when I would hear her up in her room doing her Facebook Lives, and I remember one of the other kids came in and said, "Is that Abigail?" Because she sounded so confident, and I was like, "Yep, she's using her Valor." So it's funny that you tell that story, because I can remember the other kids commenting on it. And yeah, I put it in the comment section, but pan away, and it said it, Amanda, pan away for any kind of dental work. I've had people get wisdom teeth out and things, and they put the pan away on the outside of the jaw, and that can be really helpful. One thing to remember with essential oils, it's so funny because you know, again, we have such a drug mindset. It's like somebody will be having an issue or whatever, and we'll try to, oh, have you tried this? This might really, you know, help. And they'll say, oh yeah, I used that. Well, how long ago did you use it? You know, It helped at first, but it's not helping now. How long ago did you use it? And maybe it was 2 hours ago. Sometimes you need to be using it like every 30 minutes because it gets into your system. Again, the essential oils are tiny, tiny molecules. They penetrate your skin and get into your bloodstream, but they go quickly through. They do their work. Do its work. It doesn't collect in your system like a drug would. Okay.
Yeah, Mom, you actually reminded me of that earlier today too, when you were
I
like,
wasn't
"Oh,
going to say that, but
I called my mom and I was like, Declan's not taking a nap today," and she was like, "Well, did you rub peace and calming on him?" And I was like, "Well, not recently." She was like, "When's the last time you did?" I was like, "Yesterday."
yeah, she said it's not helping. I'm like, when did she use it? Yesterday? Well, I don't think it's still working.
Yeah, gotta use
Keep
them
using it.
consistently.
Yeah, so Mary's laughing, Abigail, because she was over here when you said that. So funny. Okay. All right, let's see. We also have Jackie is going to share. We have Jackie on here.
Hi.
There she is.
Hi. I'm going to share about Digize. So, Digize is a blend and it is the best, in my opinion, blend that we have for digestion health. And so I don't have the Digize that comes in the kit is actually a vitality version of this. So Young Living has this big 15 mil and it's not vitality, but the vitality version is the one that comes in the kit. And the vitality version means that it's safe for ingestion. But I'm going to tell you that they're one and the same. It's just a different color of a label and a different size of a bottle. So, Digize is amazing. It's like I said, it's a blend. It has tarragon, ginger, peppermint, juniper, fennel, lemongrass, anise, and patchouli. And so I always tell people if you're going too much, it's good for that. If you're going not enough, it's good for that, and all of the areas in between. It's, very helpful if you are feeling any sort of just off that has to do with your stomach, nauseated, or just any type of motion sickness, anything like that. Even just the smell of it can just really help. But one of the premier ways that this can really help is just to put a few drops of it into a veggie capsule with a little bit of a carrier oil and take it before every meal with an essential zyme or a detox zyme or something like that. And that can give you optimal digestion. So this is a really good oil. I never leave home without it. We travel with it. We take it everywhere we go. And it's the first line of defense when somebody says that they're feeling icky in any sort of way that has to do with stomachs or just any kind of nausea at all, anything like that. So it's a really, really, really good thing that replaced, gosh, probably 5 or 6 things that I used to keep in the medicine cabinet years before, when I had no idea what these little essential oils were and what they would do for us. So it's been a really, really great thing. And gosh, it's pennies on the dollar for a drop. And it only takes usually 1 drop to do the job. So it's a really amazing oil. And I wouldn't make Digize cookies or diffuse it or anything like that, but it's one that we go to for topical, or like I said, in a veggie capsule. And I know friends of mine that just put it right under their tongue too. So as long as you've got your vitality version, that's what you want to do with that one. So
yes, and I just want to repeat what she said about, so we have one label that says it's for topical use and one label that says that it's for internal use, but the oil inside of the bottles are exactly the same. We had to do that We can only talk about the oils for the right label. And so that's the kind of sense that sometimes those in charge make. So just to let you know, but yeah, Digize is amazing. And I do not like the smell of it personally. I do actually know someone who diffuses it though. I think they're crazy, but they love it. So everybody's
That's interesting.
I know. Don't invite me over when you're diffusing them.
Y'all, it gets rid of any smell. I
Yeah.
mean, it really does. Once we left our dog, we usually take her to the border. And once we left her, because we were just leaving overnight, and so we put her in our master bathroom. And you know how dogs, like when they get mad at you, they go crazy and they just go to the bathroom on everything. That's what she did. And I almost died when I got back, and it stunk so bad. But I put Digize, of course I cleaned it up, but it still stunk, you know, or it was in my nose or something. I don't know. But I put Digize in the diffuser in there, and within like 5 minutes, you could not smell
Wow.
a thing. It completely neutralizes smells. You can put it in laundry if you've got like a really funky sports load or something, and it will completely neutralize.
Yeah. Purification is that way too. And
Mhm.
I like the smell of that a little bit better,
Yeah.
but oh, I was gonna say something else about Digize. What was it? Oh, well, oh, you can also dilute it and use it on little guys' tummies too. Just right topically on their tummies. So
I put it in my belly button with peppermint.
that's a good idea. That would make it smell better.
Yes. I'm not a fan of the smell, but if you mix it with peppermint, it's very tolerable.
Yeah, that probably would be actually. Okay, and Beth is going to share with us. I think it was lemon and it's up that. What else were you going to share on?
Sorry, I'm using a different device than usual for Zooming tonight. I'm gonna add a random off fact about Digize, and then share about lemon and just a couple of things we use for there. So quick random one for Digize, because we've already touched on all the digestive help and how it gets rid of nasty doggy accident smells or on purpose smells. Off gassing. If you buy a mattress or piece of furniture, because they all have chemicals in them anymore, and finding stuff that doesn't have chemicals is very, very hard. The off gassing is so nasty. I got 3 mattresses for each of my younger 3 kids, and they were all in the same room. So the off gassing was horrendous. And I put Digize in a diffuser because I knew it was good at dissolving petrochemicals. So I figured, well, why not neutralize the stuff in the air? I closed the door with a diffuser on. I probably put 10 drops of oil in the diffuser, and I let it run all day. And by the time they got in bed, there was no smell for their mattresses. And even when they laid on them, you couldn't smell that they had that nasty stuff sprayed on it, whatever they have to spray on that stuff. So, and these were pretty clean mattresses too. They were supposed to be very low on the chemical end, but they still really smelled. So that's just my random fact, and I always recommend that if you have off gassing stuff.
I wonder if it would work also for you know how you can use purification in paint when you paint, so that it doesn't get that helps with the smell, just paint fumes. I wonder if you could do the same thing with Digize for that.
That'd be interesting. I might have to try that. I'm going to be painting again soon, so I'll give that a shot.
Although I don't know if I
in
want
a
my
carpet
walls
cleaner when we had new carpets, because the off gas in there is horrible too. The glue and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you can make a carpet freshener with just adding a ton of oils to some baking soda and putting it in a Parmesan shaker and shake it all over your carpet and let it sit and then vacuum it up.
Yeah, that's what we would do with purification a lot. I'll have to do that for Digize, although we don't have much carpet anymore in our house, mostly hardwood floors, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So lemon, I like to take lemon in capsules because it helps support my healthy liver function. So we're going to mention lemon vitality just for the purpose of this oil, even though I only use the 15 milliliter bottle because it's better price. So lemon in a capsule, It's great for liver support. I really like it. I put it in my water all the time. Just a couple of drops of lemon vitality and even a drop of peppermint vitality. Shake it in my glass bottle. I put one of those shaker balls in it and shake it up. Sometimes I might add a drop of stevia just to make it a little sweet if I really want that. But most of the time I can drink it straight, and it helps curb my cravings. And I like the way it tastes, and it makes me drink more water. And that's something we all need to do. So I love lemon. I like to diffuse it in the winter because it helps uplift my mood, and seasonal affective disorder is a thing. So yeah, just any of the citrus oils honestly are great to diffuse in the winter if you suffer from that. So, but yeah, lemon is one of my favorites. I keep it in stock all the time. It's probably my number one ordered oil aside from lavender. So that's mine.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. We have Susan. Susan was going to share with us about peace and calming. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello. I had to get myself unmuted. I'm sitting here thinking about, well, I've been thinking about it all day, what I was going to tell you all about. So I think maybe I ought to ask permission, but I'm getting ready to tell you about could be a trigger. So I wouldn't want anybody to feel anxious, but so I don't know if I should really tell my story or not, because I was going to tell about a really, really bad panic attack. Do you want me to just leave it at that?
Yeah, I think you're fine. I mean, anybody?
If you're okay with it. So Stacy knows, because I used to have some really, really severe panic attacks. And if you've ever experienced panic attacks, you'll understand. If you've never experienced a panic attack, you won't understand. It's just the way it is. It's black and white.
Your body literally takes over.
Oh, it totally takes over. So I'm driving on the interstate and I'm going into a panic attack. And with that, I don't know why. There's a chemical thing, but my heart is beating out of my chest. Blood is flowing like crazy. That fight or flight, that's what's happening while I'm driving on the interstate. And I was completely convinced that this was the day of my death and I was going to die driving on an interstate. So I thought the best thing I ought to do is pull over. If I'm going to die, it'd be good if I just pulled over. Anyway, I'm laughing, but you guys, it was as real, just as plain as that. I mean, it was. So I had to call my husband, had to call my daughter, and, they ended up talking me down. But after that one incident, when I'm saying I've had multiple panic attacks for years, haven't had them in a long time, but there was a time when I did. I was fairly new in Young Living, and peace and calming always smelled really good, but I didn't use it for a purpose and really understand what it could really, really do. So I thought I'd give it a try, and I started applying peace and calming over my heart and the back of my neck before I got in the car to drive anywhere, because I knew that was a trigger for me, getting in the car after I'd had that bad thing. And by the way, I didn't die. I was fine. It truly was a panic attack, so anyway, that was something I started doing. And I don't know that I really paid attention, but it was like all of a sudden I was like, it had been a while. I was like, I don't think that's happened. Gosh, maybe that's a good thing for me to do, is put peace and calming before I drive, because look, it's been however long, like it had been maybe a couple months and I hadn't experienced anything. I might have noticed it a little bit in the beginning when I got started, but it just became a habit and I didn't think anything of it. I put it on and I'd go drive whatever I was doing. And next thing I know, a month or so has gone by and I realized I haven't even had the slightest panic attack while I was driving. So I've been in long enough. Some of you know, peace and calming came in the premium starter kit back then, as it does. But we lived through a time where we didn't have peace and calming because of blue tansy. And so Gary knew how important this was to so many people. And that's why we now have peace and calming too. And I know people that choose it over peace and calming, but I think it's the blue tansy. Stacy, isn't that what's the difference? Yeah, peace and calming has the blue tansy in it. And this is weird that I don't have a roller ball on this. This must be one that I put in the diffuser because all my oils have roller balls on them because I bathe in them and get them all over me. But I go back to what Abigail said earlier about the baby sleeping, or that he wasn't sleeping. Using the oils on a regular basis with a purpose, even if you don't think whether you need it at that moment or not, go ahead and put it on. Peace and calming was, I had my gateway, my gateway oil was Thieves, but peace and calming was my, because it had a major effect on my life to be able to do that. And I think it's interesting that the perfume that I developed has patchouli and ylang ylang in it, because that's in peace and calming. Because that's what, and I used it, I put it on my hair, sprayed it on my hair, my perfume that has those two oils in it for the calming effect. So peace and calming is absolutely amazing. You all were talking about leg cramps. I don't necessarily have leg cramps, but I get restless leg, where like they just won't be still late at night, like before I go to bed or right as I go to bed. Not a cramp, but just they won't stop moving. And that's where I use my peace and calming in the roller ball, and I just rub it all up and down the back of my legs and in the bend of my knee. And those restless, I mean, peace and calming, the name says it all. I mean, my legs, it's almost instant. My legs will just totally calm down and not do that. So anyway, peace and calming was my oil, and still use it all the time. Fortunately, through many other kinds of things, praise God, I don't have those panic attacks anymore. So that's a wonderful thing. But at least peace and calming got me through it during those years. It truly did.
Yes, I remember that. And so many good stories about peace and calming. I bet we could all share, because it is one of those, and not to mention, it just smells amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
It just smells so good. That was in my first starter kit, and yeah, I loved it. Okay, we are running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Shanna. She's going to just share real quick about Thieves. One of Young Living's most popular essential oil blend.
Hey there, I am so excited to share this with you guys. I have Thieves Vitality here, and of course, like we've said, the other Thieves, same thing, just different label. I'm going to talk about using Thieves internally, so we're going to talk about Thieves Vitality. This by far was my gateway oil. And I have a lot of children. At that time, I had a lot of little children. So, when you have a house full of small children, you have all the sniffles and gunk and all the immune things. And so I can't, there's only so much I can say, but I'll just leave it at that. All the immune things. And this is the immune support blend. And I've said it time and time again, that if there was only one oil that I could have, it would be this one. Second would be frankincense. But if there was only one oil I could have, it would be this blend of oils. And my first experience with this was I had just gotten my starter kit, and my 1-year-old had never had a cold before. And he was just a very healthy little guy, my 8th baby. And but he woke up one morning shortly in, maybe a week after I got my starter kit, and he had a little fever and he had some sniffles. And so we didn't even get diffusers with our starter kits then. You guys are really lucky. So I kind of made this like with the wax burner was probably wasn't the greatest idea, but I knew it would get the oil in the air. And then I put it on his feet with a carrier oil and put his little socks on. And within 1 hour, his fever got away. And by the time he went to bed that night, he did not have any more sniffles. So I was hooked. That for me was just wow, a wow moment. Being in naturally living for many years, I was used to at least several days of elderberry syrup and vitamin C and the whole 9 yards. So for this to work within a matter of a few hours was incredible to me. And yeah, it is the immune support oil. And it smells amazing, guys. I always say it's like grandma's house on Thanksgiving Day. Like it smells so, so good. You're going to want to diffuse this daily. It's just amazing. People walk in my house and they're like, "What do you have in the oven?" I'm like, "Nope, it's my thieves." So, and then of course we have an incredible thieves line of cleaners. Um, and we also have a line of thieves oral health products. So toothpaste, mouthwash, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. And so I can't say enough. That's all. Everybody needs this. Everybody needs this. And a drop will do you. It's amazing. I take it directly as an adult. I put it on my hand, 2 drops, and lick it off. And then that way it keeps it off your lips and your lips don't burn. It does have cinnamon in it, so it's kind of got a little bit of heat to it, but it tastes amazing. I love it. For the children, I tend to put it on the bottom of their feet. Of course, you should always dilute any oil or oil blend until you know how you're going to react to that. It is also great for thyroid support. I use it as well for thyroid support along with my Endoflex. So, yeah, to say we use this daily is an understatement. It's multiple times a day, whether it's in our cleaners or our thieves hand sanitizer or just keeping our immunity up. We use this all the time.
Yeah, thank you, Shanna. Yeah, Thieves is again the most popular blend that we have. So one user tip. So one time my husband was using it on a Q-tip back by a tooth. And so he put it on the Q-tip and then he put it in his mouth, put the spot by his tooth, and then left this Q-tip hanging out of his mouth for, while he walked around the house. Well, because it was hanging out of his mouth, he was kind of drooling. And so the Thieves, although it didn't burn inside his mouth, it started to burn his lip. It was like, oh, it feels like fire. And so we put a little coconut oil on his lip and he was fine. But again, you just put a fatty oil in there. But it's interesting how the skin in your mouth is different than the skin outside your mouth. So just a little word to the wise. All right, well, we are out of time. We've gone over a little bit, so I am not going to go into all the details that I was going to about the best ways to get essential oil. You'll need to reach out to the person who invited you to this call and because you want them to tell you the best way to get these oils. Again, the kit, you're already getting a $439 value of oils for $165. So it's, you're getting a lot of oils for your money just with the kit. In addition to that, when you spend 100 PV, you're also getting 24% off for the entire year of any oil you get from Young Living. So you want to get that discount, right? And then there's also more that you can get depending on if you get on loyalty rewards. So you want to ask, it's like a subscription kind of thing. But you get points for free products, you get free products as gifts, you get all kinds of perks. So you definitely want to ask the person that invited you to this call If you got an email from me, then, or a text from me, I can help you either way. Or if the person that invited you doesn't know, I could tell you both. So just make sure that you look into that, because you want to get it at the best price possible. You don't want to pay full price. You don't have to. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, and thank you all you ladies who shared. That is the way to go with this, because we all have different experiences, and one oil works great for another person, and that same oil will work for something completely different for another person. And so the only way that we learn these things is by sharing our stories. So be sure, and when you do your classes, get other people to share too. And just think of it as show and tell, like when you went to school and everybody brings something really cool and they talk about it. That's kind of what we do with oils. So again, thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for sharing, and y'all have an amazing evening.